and I started a company last year. This is basically my inauguration year, completing March 2009 I started. And the company is called Wiggles Press. I got into this because I also, like D.A. Royster, had a story to tell. And my unique story was about my travels to Asia as an African-American exchange student in the 80s. And so I decided to write the book, and I wanted to, I did market it around, and it seemed like no one was interested in the story, and I didn't want the story to go untold, because I know that there are a lot of African-American, Hispanic, and children of color who study other languages and other cultures, and they get to go on exchange programs. And I happened to be the first one from UMass Amherst to go to school in Taiwan. I had the choice between China, and China had just opened the doors with Reagan, and I really wasn't, I was a little spoiled only child and wasn't ready to be a guinea pig for the new communist China. So I decided to go to Taiwan, which had more experience with international relations. And so that's really what started it. And when I wasn't getting accepted, I thought, well, this is really interesting. How do I, not miss the opportunity to tell my story? Fortunately for me at the time, I was married to a writer and an editor. Person who could edit copy, and he helped me put the story together. And we had spent the summer in China, so he's sort of the last few chapters of the story are about our journey together. Afterwards, after the book went out, and I started hearing so many people who wanted to have their stories told. So many people who had drafted some beautiful books and just didn't get published for one reason or another. It's
really hard out there.
And I thought, well, the experience that I had had on my own in self-publishing could be of use to helping support other people's dreams. In addition to that, I had just finished a master's degree at Emerson College in integrated marketing communications. So I knew that coming up with a marketing plan, a brand strategy, all of those skills I had used in the dot-com industry and high tech, that I could apply those same skills to the publishing end of things. Fortunately for me, the first person that needed to help was someone who had broad recognition, was Streets by Mel King.
Oh, yes.
Mel did not publish through me, but at the time I was able to be his agent. So I helped to find a publisher for him, and I helped get his book into print. We had some challenges. I'd love to talk to this guy further about the legal end of things. We had some challenges with the person who produced his book, as far as delivering on time, just making sure that it had the visibility we needed, planning, having delivery in time for events, things like that. And so as we came across those crossroads, again, I realized, being a corporate professional and someone in marketing, that there were ways in which to resolve those issues. And I thought, oh, we can't have a product and a personality not being presented in a very good brand and representing him at his very best. So as a result, I decided to use my skills and talents to help others. And Mel actually sent me my second author, Robert Peters, and his book is called The Goody Monster. Robert came to me with a story that he had written nearly 16 years ago. It was about his son's dream, and he's a Native American ancestry. His family's from Mashpee, and they're a Wampanoag, an African American family. And when I read the story, and as you can see these beautiful illustrations, that his work was just outstanding. And I found it very sad that a publisher did not take him on. So we together came up with this book, got it printed in hardcover. Wiggles impresses there, and we've been able to market it. He published in October. He sold over 500 books in the first 3 or 4 months of this book being released. And then it's still available, and we're dreaming of getting it into a soft cover, so paperback edition, so that it will be affordable in this economy. That's the other end of things. So since Robert came along, I now have 18 authors under Wiggles Press, and because of the economy, I am sort of a unique niche. I look for unpublished authors, first-time writers, and I also try to marry them with first-time illustrators who've never been published as well. Because anyone who takes on this endeavor, your stories have to be illustrated for children, and that can be the most expensive end of things. And experienced authors can want anything from $1,000 to $2,000 or $3,000 to illustrate a book, and that can be painstaking, taking that kind of risk when you don't know if you're ever going to recoup that kind of money.
I understand what you're saying, because I know I have a book, and I've been trying to get the right illustrator. And when I started doing that, I did find someone who seemingly, he got the information from me, he showed me a copy of the work, and I said, wow, that's good. But as you said, it's very expensive to have it done. Well, when I was in Antigua, I met the woman who's a Tamron. She has a company called Tamron in England. And she said, if you have the book, just send me the manuscript. We do our own illustration, which is another thing that, a publishing company can help you with, is you don't need anything, just send the information. They'll do all the illustrations and so forth.
Well, that's what, we work with our authors, though. Some authors come to me where they have an artist they've identified, and so they decide that they want that artist, and they may have already contracted and paid for that artist. Some come to me with just a manuscript, and then what I do will market and try to find an affordable artist that will fit my budget at the time, so that it can be, there will be, like she said, the royalties will have to pay for that artwork and the editing and so forth. So that's why I try to give the first-time illustrators are usually more negotiable in price. But I also have some professional illustrators who've been in the business for years, and because they love what they do, they're willing to work with me, and that has been the biggest end of being a successful publisher, is having a supportive team. So the story that I brought today is one that I did write, and it's my newest book. It's called Gabe's Nantucket Adventure, Daffodils, Dogs, and Cars. And this book is part 4 of a series of books called The Adventures of Gabe. Gabe is based on my son, who is 6 years old, and his father was, when his father passed away of leukemia, is when I started writing, keeping a journal of some of the things that Gabe and I did together as part of our healing process. And some of those stories turned into things that I found could be inspiring to children of the preschool age group and up, because the goal for me is not only to deliver multicultural stories, but things that will inspire learning. So that's really where this book came from, our trip to Nantucket. And we had a great surprise. So I will read it for you, and I'm hoping that you'll enjoy it.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Now, the illustrator for this book was someone who responded to an inquiry on Craigslist for an illustrator. And he is out of Ohio. He's a very experienced illustrator by the name of Al McGorlis. And he's not only doing this book, he's doing about 3 stories for Wiggles Press this year. So let's start with Gabe's Nantucket Adventure. Mommy drove me to a place named Cape Cod. What kind of name is that? It sounds kind of odd. She said we wouldn't take a ride on a train, but we couldn't. Mommy should have called before coming. She didn't use her brain. The sign said Cape Cod Railroad closed for the season. Although she was disappointed, my mom started to reason. Well, since we're here, let's see what else we can do. I really want to have fun today, Gabe, and have a special day with you. She then saw a sign that said Steamboat Authority. Where could we take a ferry? Let's go to Nantucket, she said in a fury. We drove to the lot and parked our car. We didn't have to walk very far. Before you knew it, she bought tickets and we were on our way. The lady at the desk told Mommy it was going to be Daffodil Day, a special day on the small island in the Atlantic Ocean, with parades, a car show, and lots of commotion. We boarded the boat and I ran to the top deck. Mommy tried to catch me, but she ran out of breath. After I got tired and had fallen asleep, she made friends with the couple in the next seat. They told her that Daffodil Day was an annual affair where locals decorate everything with the flower, even girls' hair.